Hey, how you doing, everybody? This is Gene coming to you from Phoenix 15 Studios. This is a Rising Arts podcast where we have a guest that we know did a show at Phoenix 15 Studios a bit ago um, by the name of Jason Sanders. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, G. Thanks for
Good,
having
man.
me on your show.
Nah, I appreciate it on such short notice. It's like we talked this morning. It's like, hey, let's do it tonight.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, this works out great for me, so I
yeah,
appreciate
man.
accommodating my schedule.
It's all about convenience. Everybody's got so much going on, and
Right.
work and life and kids and
Yeah.
everything. So I appreciate you being flexible. Um, yeah, I guess we got some catching up to do. It's been, I want to say, about a year and a half since the show.
And maybe
Yeah,
it's been
it's
a
probably
year.
been about that long, maybe a
Right.
little less, but yeah, man, it's a lot has transpired since then. Obviously, um,
Right. Right.
what's been the mode since then and coming into this year?
Well, I think the last time we hung out, it was pre-COVID time, so we had just like a great experience, and we didn't have to worry. And once all of that changed in March, I don't know about your setup, but my setup, went from having shows booked to having shows, delayed, to having shows canceled, and all the things you have to deal with.
Yeah,
So I've just sort of been grinding away. This year hasn't been as productive artistically for me as last year was. I'm still holding out a little hope because there's,
got some
studio
time left.
I got a lot of good ideas, but I've kind of been focusing because of everything that happened, and because that you know I felt like it was time for me to focus a little bit on the business side of things and get that in order and have an outlet for allowing people to purchase my work if they wanted to, since they wouldn't be seeing me out and about as much.
Right.
So I did a lot of research. I started my website. I'd been sitting on my domain name for a while, draindye.com. And so it's just been sort of a process. I had it's not my first website I've ever done, but I haven't done it in a long time.
Right.
And, it's just a lot of menial work,
Yeah.
listing things and describing them and metadata and keywords and
Yeah, the fun stuff.
all those things that just kind of like rob you of all joy. So
Yeah.
that's what I've been doing for the past 6 months, and I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot with it. I different things happen, like my phone conked out and stuff like that. I had to get a new phone, different things that have been speed bumps, but it's almost there. And I'm also, whenever this first happened, in March, I was thinking, what am I going to do? Because I had indoor shows booked. I was doing like the punk rock flea markets and things like that.
Up in Trenton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Trenton. And I got booked in Philly, which I still haven't done yet. That's delayed until next year.
Right.
I don't really know what to do because I don't have any. I'm a fine artist, but I don't have the fine art clout. I don't have fine art associates.
Yeah.
Like some people, they go through the whole art school thing,
Right.
end up with. So I my first thought was, oh, they'll still do outdoor shows. So I bought a canopy, a nice art canopy, and I did okay with that here and there, but all of those, I guess, townships come down on the organizations that
hold the events.
Yeah, and that becomes untenable. So all of those shows, the big ones at least, have been canceled. So my latest thing is I'm working towards a mobile art gallery.
Right.
That is in the works right now.
Awesome. It's needed, and I think we missed out on the whole harvest season where there's tons and tons of events, here in Collingswood and all the local towns usually do stuff between, September and November. And we
Right.
kind of got that whole thing wiped out along with the summer.
Yeah.
Um, we haven't done an event since January of this year, and we
Uh,
had some stuff booked that we had to cancel and refund deposits for because we just didn't know what the future was going to hold at that time, and it didn't hold much apparently. So I'm glad we did go ahead and just kind of cancel it
well, it
out.
seems like I mean, I've been loosely following what you're doing. I don't know every detail, but it seems like you're kind of unrolling a bunch of stuff too. You got a miniature empire in the works,
Yeah, I think like something you said, this kind of gave birth to, figuring out new ways to do, what you're doing. So we all took to the internet because it's safe, it's home, you can get stuff out there and, hopefully sell some pieces, and reach a pretty wide audience online, with the website and Instagram and all those things. So I always hated. I'm not like a huge social media person in terms of business. I do socialize and have a ton of family on there, but in terms of like the business side of it, never really put a whole lot into it. It was there, it was present, but ever since I guess March, we really started dialing in on that stuff. And
cool.
YouTube was not even on my radar. Like we had a YouTube channel since the beginning. I think I uploaded maybe 4 videos on it before the beginning of this year, and we just started just recording any and everything we could. But the initial thought was just let's have a place where artists can come on, tell their stories, and talk about what inspires them, show their work, let everybody know where they can be found and how you can support them, and just another lane for people to kind of put themselves out there. And
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, so it's been going well. This is episode number 5. um we had an artist named Gwen Seymour on this past Sunday, and she's out in LBI, and we just talked about her, same stuff what she's dealing with right now. And the whole
Yeah,
season got crushed out there. There was no summer, no
right.
nothing. So all the events they usually hold out there pretty much got squashed. So
I
she,
feel like the overall economy is an issue,
yeah,
but my
it's,
dog is whining. I hope he's not messing with your audio.
no, not at all. So she wrote a book, and put a book out. So she sustained herself that way. She said she was lucky to be in the middle of, you know, making the book, when all this hit the fan, or she would have been in, a little bit of a bind, because that kind of got her through
Oh,
that
okay.
season. Yeah. So
She
everybody's
had,
finding different ways to kind of make it through
yeah,
whatever this is.
right, right.
And hopefully we're out of it, soon. I think it's we're rapidly approaching a year, if
Yeah.
if you can believe that or not.
But I think the funny thing is too is, I mean, there's so much going on that isn't funny, but the interesting thing is that there's so much creative inspiration
Yeah.
based on all the crazy things that we're seeing in the world. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I
Like,
feel so odd trying to pull a silver lining out of this, but there's been several,
yeah,
since all this started. So, I mean, thank God for
yeah.
that, man. You just got to keep on
I mean,
moving.
whenever you have so many Americans dying from something preventable, you have just this kind of cult of personality that's taken over half of the country. There's just so much fertile ground there artistically. um I don't know, like, you were on my little coffee talk this morning on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah,
I feel really strongly that artists have an obligation to use their gifts in a way that betters the world.
right.
I know not everyone sees it that way. I think that was kind of one of the most surprising things about, um, really diving headfirst into art, is finding people who have amazing gifts but don't see an obligation there. You
Yeah.
know, But I think the best artists do see it, and they work to, raise awareness, to contact their audience in an emotional way that really only they can,
Yeah.
and so there is a lot, as bad as this is, I feel like it's, fertilizing a whole new wave of output from a lot of people who
Yeah.
are, kind of trudging through it, or may not have even started their art career yet. There's just
Absolutely.
like so much
Absolutely.
to respond to right now.
Yeah. Let's talk about something you touched on earlier in reference to just being I guess what you would say, a classically trained artist, or not having you know the clout of other artists and things like that. What was your start in art? Like, how did you arrive to the point where you wanted to actually start creating pieces, and then potentially selling them?
Well, I mean, I enjoyed drawing as a kid, but I was kind of like from this fundamentalist Christian family, and like no one I was around as a kid thought that the world was even going to survive. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so like art wasn't prioritized at all.
Right.
Um, college wasn't even encouraged. Um, so I remember having a job in my 20s where I worked in not a file room, in a supply room at a state agency. So I had this job where all I had to do was sit in this room with all these office supplies and wait for someone to ask me for something. A
Here
great
you go.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great
Yeah.
because you know, like I might have talked to 10 people a day, and they were spread out, and it was real quick, and
Right.
everybody was friendly. So I started drawing just out of boredom,
Wow.
and that was sort of reconnecting my love of drawing from as whenever I was a kid.
Right.
And I picked up some paints after that. I struggled on this Bob Marley drawing for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, and finally got it to the way I liked it. Then I picked up some paints and I painted some terrible paintings, which I still have hanging up. And and then sort of everything kind of like got in the way, like life just happened.
Oh yeah.
And I found myself, back east here. My ex-wife is from New Jersey, and as soon as I moved here, um, it was kind of this East Coast hustle thing that happened, where you're in a job and everything's more expensive, and we started a family, and it. I was 37, I think, before I kind of had a chance to like slow down and take a look around.
Right. Right.
I had I just started thinking, like, what do I really want to do? Because for a while, right before this, I was doing videography, which was a lot of fun, and was a great creative outlet for me,
Right.
and made money. And that was sort of the lens that I always looked through, like, what can I do creatively to make money? You know,
Yeah.
and so I come up with that, and I sort of through just dumb luck, I ended up with some great people. I was shooting videos um, for a theater company and doing their national campaigns and
Right.
documenting all their performances. But after a while, I think their funding started to get harder because of things that happened, in support of the arts. They relied a lot on grants and everything.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit leaner, and um, also sort of a large collaborative process. The whole thing evolved into a larger collaborative process where instead of just working with one person, I was working with a team of people, and that was just no fun for me. It's just like, I feel like maybe the end result was better for it, because there was a lot of different perspectives that were addressed, but I had a vision of how it should be,
Right.
and I'm never able to execute that vision because it always contradicted with, you know, um,
9 other people.
yeah. And I mean, it was a children's theater company too.
Right.
So, and they had to pre-sell the performances to different
Right.
venues. And there were all these considerations that, you don't necessarily think of whenever you're editing a video to like grab the user, hit him over the head with it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
like that's not going to work for little kids, man. You know? But I was good at it,
Right.
and I think I learned at that point that I had an eye. Like maybe like all the technical stuff wasn't exactly where it had to be, but I had an eye.
Right.
And so anytime I talk to anyone who wants to get advice from me about art, I feel like the most important thing is having an eye. Because if you have an eye, you can fix anything.
Right.
With enough time, you can fix it. You can get it there. If you can't see that it's screwed up, then it'll never get fixed. So,
Um,
yeah, I was 37, I think, whenever I made a transition and thought, I don't want to do videos anymore, and I want to, to focus on art. And I finally started feeling like I had something to say,
so
and that's
you
what made it possible.
you have a lot to say by
Yeah.
what we saw of your work and what we see on Instagram and everything. The style you have is probably one of the more unique styles that I've seen, and just some of the things I remember, the hard outline of the figures that you draw, whether it be a pop, you know pop star or something in pop culture, or just a portrait of someone. That outlining, the way you sign your name, the fonts you use, everything is just super unique to you. How long
Yeah.
did it take you to arrive to that style that's uniquely Jason Sanders?
That was sort of an accident. That was just like, that was someone pushing me whenever I really didn't want to do it.
Right.
I had like I said, I started getting serious about art at 37, and I was kind of restarting my life in a new relationship. And I was with someone who believed in my artistic ability and was like helping me invest in myself. And that was just felt so amazing, to have some kind of support, because I'm like an only child. I'm disconnected from the rest of my family. So to have that kind of support meant everything to me. All right, go downstairs. Go on, get out of here. Lord. Okay. My girlfriend is his favorite person. Here, he's so sad. Anyway, so I was in this relationship, and she was giving me good feedback, and I felt good about the work that I was doing and the path that I was on. And then suddenly that relationship fell apart,
Right.
and it left me in a spot where I didn't really want to create, and I was just in a funk. And I had a therapist that pushed me to create, and said, make something ugly, however you feel, put it out there. And I just made like the ugliest painting I could think of,
Right.
and
They like
featuring
this, they'll like anything.
featuring the person that I was angry with. And I was surprised at how it came out, because it was kind of minimalistic in some ways, but it was totally unique. And after I made that, I made several of them based on, grievances. And after I made those, I thought, wow, I really enjoyed that process. And I started thinking about, I can't keep making paintings out of anger. How do I transition,
Right.
and bring that aesthetic to a more a more positive outlook towards my new work. And um I wasn't sure that I could. I mean, honestly, I wasn't real sure. But the first one that I did was, it's funny because it was of an artist that I knew on Instagram who um I didn't really know her that well,
Right.
but suddenly she came down with cancer, and she, had like a really bad kind of, I think, breast cancer. And I had never seen anything like it because she was just so transparent about the process of it,
Right.
which was just really heart wrenching, just like painful. And, you know, just terrible for a young, 30 something woman to go through. And
Right.
ultimately she lost that battle. And so I did a painting, to sort of like honor her struggle. And it turned out great, you know. And actually, I think it was March of this year, her mom discovered it and reached out to me. And
Wow.
I sent it off to California. And it's going to be with, Katrina's sister and her children in their home.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, so that made me feel real good. Whenever I created it, I didn't know what to do with it, so I just put it out there that I would sell it and donate it to her estate or give it to the family, whatever. Somebody let me know. And I reached out through Facebook, but you know how Facebook is. If you're not connected with someone, they don't see the messages.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was kind of a neat thing this year for that to come full circle. And I just kept making those paintings, and they came really easy. And as I kept making them, sort of an idea about what goes in, like the thought process and what I'm trying to communicate, revealed itself. A lot of my paintings have chaotic backgrounds, things that don't make sense. Most of them, the characters are somewhat transparent.
Right.
And uh, you know I think that's something that I'm looking for in people, is like
Yeah.
transparency. I want to see sort of like what's behind the veil in someone. And some people like to do that and some people don't.
Yeah.
So for the people that I paint, it's usually either like I like them, or I think that they're really spiritually bringing something to the table.
Right.
So I try to highlight those people. And a big part of my work is not every painting that I do, but the ones that you mentioned and the ones that I feel like I get the most attention for. I call that my Defining Auras series. And so I try to pick a color. It's not necessarily, I'm not trained in auras. If a red aura is bad, that doesn't mean anything to me. If
Exactly.
it's on my paint, it's going to be the color that I choose,
Right.
and but I also try to distill that person's. I'm sorry about my dog.
That's fine.
I try to distill that person's spirit down to a phrase or a word, if
Right.
possible.
Right.
And they're all different, but my favorite ones are whenever I can like repeat that over and over in black and white. Because something about writing it in black and white, the way I was raised, there's something so satisfying about clarity, the clarity of black and white. So um yeah, that's sort of like where I'm at with that. And not everything is serious. Like at your studio, I started Alf,
Yeah.
which I
I remember.
finished thereafter, which is I Kill Me, which is just something he said in his show. And
Exactly.
it's nostalgic and I love it. So not everything is like real intense and serious. Sometimes I give myself a break, but um, on my favorite ones, they are. I have a list. I curate that list based on people I read about. Sometimes it's people that I'm not even familiar with, like sometimes like Alf. Of course, I love Alf. I'm
Right.
an 80s guy,
Who
but
does?
you know, Hannibal Lecumbe, before I read about him, I had no idea who he was. He is just this amazing composer who was the composer in residence at the Philadelphia Orchestra. And he does all this incredible community organizing around helping people who are incarcerated find new beginnings.
Right.
And, I think he plays the trumpet. I'm not, I'm not even completely like 100%,
Right.
but I he's like an amazing person after watching interviews and reading articles about him. I knew I had to feature him.
Right.
And um, that Giving Hope painting that I have, uh, I'm so proud of that one.
That's all.
Um, yeah,
So inspired by many, many people, many figures, public and non-public. It's a unique way to go about choosing subjects. I think some people choose to go for what they think will sell or hit a nerve for
right,
others,
right.
not necessarily for themselves. So you kind of go the other way and say, all right, how does this make me feel? And kind of put it on a canvas. And that's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And that means that I have a hard time with commission work, like I
Right,
have sometimes there's a meeting of the minds, and sometimes I just can't make it work,
right, yeah,
based on um, reference pictures or what what my client is trying to achieve. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Sometimes you listen to people and you just want to back away.
Yeah, it's hard to see what's in other people's heads sometimes.
you
As
know,
as with music, it's hard to hear what I can't tell you how many people come to me with lyrics already written, and I'm not a musician, but I know how to make things out of, you know, whatever chords and keys I can come up with in my own head, but to put it together from what you have, I can't. It's just something I've not ever really been able to do. Um,
right?
and the older I get, the less I care to even try. I don't know if that's a bad
Yeah,
thing or not, but it's just like
there's,
I don't have it in me to even step up to that challenge at this point. At this point, I just want to make things that sound good to me. And if
right,
you like it, that's great. If not, then it is what it is. But um, yeah, it's getting tougher as we get older. But there's less. I think there's less roadblocks for me mentally now because I create without concern for anyone or anything else. When I sit
right,
down to do it, I just sit down to do it for me and not worry about where it's going, who's using it, who could it be for. Yeah, they just make it and
right,
see where it lands when you make it.
right.
Um,
Yeah, never can tell. I mean, what's going to connect with someone,
yeah,
and I don't think you're having me on because I'm some huge commercial success.
yeah. Well,
you know, because I haven't got there yet. But um, you just I don't know. I feel like if you lose the joy in what you do, then you kind of lost it.
right,
I've experienced that, like I told you from that previous experience with videos. If it becomes not fun, then you got a problem.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm kind of protective over my creative process. I it's really a spiritual process for me to try to open myself up to the energy of my subject. And if my own enthusiasm for them through nostalgia or something like that isn't there, then I really need to kind of experience them on an emotional level.
Right.
Um, yeah, sometimes it's hard to do that, on demand for someone else.
Yeah. It's very, very challenging.
Yeah.
Let's talk just a little bit in general, because you're in the general area here where I am. The I think we did a total of like 4 shows at the space in Palmyra. Um, very limited foot traffic. Just very hard to generate a lot of interest for smaller venues for what we'll refer to as smaller artists that don't have as big a footprint as others. What are some things you think we can do going into next year once we're out from under this cloud and everything to kind of, I guess, generate more of a following locally and kind of expand on what you would consider your footprint in the South Jersey area?
Um, I don't know. For me, I've almost gotten to the point where, I'm from South Jersey. I live in South Jersey, but South Jersey is less important to me than Philly is.
Right.
I think because of um, my overall aesthetic. People describe it as more urban or, you know, street art adjacent, you know. Um, so I feel like a lot of people in New Jersey are looking for art that is made by other people, you know.
Right. Do you get the feeling that a lot of people in Jersey are looking for art at all? Like,
Well, I mean,
it's just not like a huge scene. Of course not.
Walk into Home Goods, and then you walk in to Home Goods a week later. There's different stuff on the shelf.
Yeah.
They're buying Home Goods art. You know,
IKEA, all those.
you know,
Yeah,
I feel like you know, I don't know. I have this whole energy going on, which is very kind of disruptive. I'm not really buying into the American dream. You know what I mean? I'm looking at my surroundings as sort of an outsider, you know?
Right.
So I feel like because of that, you know, I'm not supporting a certain narrative. And I feel like in South Jersey, it's very much suburban, you know, place where, people are looking for the American dream.
Right.
You know, they're invested in that lifestyle. So, that's fine.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. When you were talking though about like what we can do, I think that we have to really put our thinking caps on. We have to really try to network and organize as much as we can now,
Right.
because it seems like COVID is a pretty big equalizer. Like all of the people that, have experienced some success, are not able to maintain it in this environment.
Yeah, kind of put everybody in a level playing field now where everybody's kind of knocked down to the same peg.
Yeah. So I think there's going to be a ton of opportunity once things start to normalize. And, I think you just got to be ready.
Yeah, and do the footwork now. Do all the mundane, keywords.
Yeah,
This, that,
I think if If I was you, for instance, I would be making friends with people who have lost their establishments, and I
Right.
would be their right hand man or have some new idea whenever they're ready to put money back in the game. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're with them.
It's important. I don't know if you've experienced it, but we've come across a lot of issues where we are not, I guess, we don't have the same goals as some people, and we initially feel that we do. Like we start out on the same page, and then eventually, uh, we kind of veer off in different directions, and that's fine. Like you said, sometimes you just want things the way you want them, and some other people want things the way they want them. How much of a problem do you think that is, just unity within the artistic community? Have you found it hard to really work with other artists and kind of do things together?
Um, well, I think all of us have intersecting goals. We all want to have the largest audience that we can for our work. And
Right.
we all want to support ourselves off of our creativity, and we all want to express our vision without compromise. Um, so, if you can find ways to bring people together around those goals, then I feel like there's room for cooperation. But I can't expect the next artist, the one standing next to me, to have the same goals as me, or to have the same outlook, or
Right.
the same aesthetic, you know. And I don't know, like money, like personally, money is obviously essential, but it's not like my number one driver,
Right.
you know. And I recognize that there's a certain level of privilege with being able to say that. You know what I mean? So whenever I see someone who is just all about the money, um, I have to just recognize that that's their journey.
Right.
Kind of like it's to me, it's upsetting that in America, money is the ultimate equalizer. Like you can't really find equality without wealth, which sucks. You're always going to be less than unless you achieve the wealth of a certain level of wealth.
Right.
And I understand that that's why so many people chase it. But I also understand that that chase and that prioritization of money over everything, of commerce over everything, corporations over people, is just so toxic for our day-to-day lives, and I don't know what to do about it. That's part of what drives me as, you know, my that's one of the things where I want to bring light, and have conversations about that because, I think if we all stop and look at it, we all are just kind of on this hamster wheel,
Yeah.
you know, to greater or lesser extents. And, a lot of time goes by so fast. you know,
Yeah.
we really only have such a limited opportunity to make any kind of difference. And the society and capitalism uh, will completely rob you of that opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, what advice would you give to someone who is trying to get to their point where they're uh beginning to establish themselves as an artist, or someone who's just starting out? What advice would you have to them um to kind of start with the right idea in mind, where they don't kind of start on a foot where they feel like they need to jump into the deep end and do all these things that aren't really necessary to be an artist? What would you say to that person that's starting out right now?
Well, there's several like really important things that you have to do. Um, I'd say the first one is to find some sort of hustle, whether it be your living arrangement or um, some kind of a job where you are not spending all your time at work. So whether it's cheap housing or some kind of hustle that you can do part time that can really bang out bills for you.
Right.
That a really important starting place. And then the other thing that I would tell everyone that'll listen is no half steps. You know, don't take a half step to get to where you actually want to be. Just go to where you want to be.
Right.
You know, um, because sometimes the half steps don't work out, just like sometimes the whole steps don't work out.
Yeah, and then you have to regret that other half a step that you didn't take.
It's not even about regret. I mean, it's all learning. I don't really regret anything. I know that there's plenty of people that are further along than I am. I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be, but if I had it to do over again, I think I would want to just think about where I really want to be,
Right.
you know. And
Right.
that's sort of very specific to me because I was always told like, oh yeah, creativity, art is great, but you have to find something that'll actually make you money, that you can actually support yourself on. And I think that's a load of crap because
Yeah.
really the biggest thing that we have in America is culture.
Yeah.
You know,
I
like
mean,
that's the only thing we really have that can't be exported. Like they can't create American culture in a Chinese factory. We have to do that. So that's kind of a lie about art can't be profitable. And I'm not saying that it's easy for it to be profitable.
right.
You know, I'm not I'm not where I want to be yet. But when you actually look at it, you know, um, yeah, culture is everywhere.
Yeah, that's for sure. That is
Yeah.
for sure. Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate your time this evening, man. Like I said, it was on such short notice. But definitely good touching base with you again. And hopefully when
It's good
it's
to
all
see you.
up, we can put something together, man. As an outdoor event or something would be awesome. But
Well,
uh
I did one at my apartment building and it was okay. I think if I would have kept doing, I might start it up in the spring, because I
definitely.
have enough room where I had like 7 artists come, you know, I had a good day. A lot of what I sold to my friends.
Right, right. That's always
So,
the way, man. It's just
but I don't know, it's sort of like you got to start somewhere.
yeah.
Look,
And
it's consistency, like
yeah,
you gotta suffer through some bad times to get to some good times.
absolutely. But we'll definitely be in touch and
All right.
be looking forward to getting back out there and doing something, man. But
Yeah.
in terms of what we have planned, I mean it's probably more ambitious than we should be, but we want to start a weekend workshop where anyone can just come and create without having to worry about money or paying for anything. We'll just set up some canvases and put paint out, and my wife will be there and just kind of help them try to achieve what they want to achieve artistically, or if they want to just play around with it or whatever. um
Right.
have some musical instruments set up, and have kids or whoever come in if they want to learn music production or video editing or whatever. Just kind of have all this stuff set up where people can just come in like a sandbox basically, for creativity. So that's what we have planned. We're trying to still figure out details and how we're going to put it in place, but we're definitely going to do it. So if you wanted to be a part of that as well,
Yeah, I
definitely.
mean, a few times I stopped by at your old location, you had like classes going. I feel like you guys are set up and are good for a regular environment. I know that this situation is got to be kicking your ass like it's kicking everyone else's ass, but
Big.
um, yeah, but you guys, the painting classes, all of that. I saw what you were doing there. You're doing a great job. you know, so it's just a matter of surviving these hard times and getting back to where you want to be. And who knows? I do think there are, you know, there's plenty of time to think about things right now
Yes.
and observe and sort of recalibrate if you need to. Not saying you do,
Right.
but you know,
Everybody does to a point. Yeah, everybody does to a point.
yeah, I needed to. So, um, you know, we'll see how it goes. I'm excited. You know, I think once you find what you're supposed to do, you will have like this sense that you're on the right path,
Absolutely.
you know, and I have that sense. So once that arrives for you, um, it just gives you just this courage and this determination because you feel like you're on the right path. And, you know, if you are wanting to quit, then you may not be on the right path.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure signs. Sure signs.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Again, I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
And we look forward to talking to you again, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's keep in touch. And thanks for having me. It's an honor. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
All
All right,
right.
this has been another episode of Phoenix 15 Studios Rising Arts Podcast. Thank you for joining us. Before we go, Jason, if you want to just let everybody know where they can find you, where they can support you, and anything you have going on that you want people to know about.
All right. Yeah, my Instagram is drained eye with a D, like dog, drained eye. And my website is drainedeye.com. So check me out.
Absolutely. And all the links will be in the description of this video. So definitely go over and check out what Jason's got going on.
All right. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Good night.